Today on the channel, I'm going to be looking at Google Analytics GA4 quality assurance. This is something we do at my agency when we take on a new client, and I'm going to walk you through the process. Hey, it's Ed here from 10,000 Foot View, and I've got another Google Ads quick tip for you today. Just before I jump in, a reminder to please like our content and subscribe to the channel. We post about Google Ads at least once every week. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to jump into this. I'm in the admin area right now, and I'm going to go to data streams and select this, and I'm going to go into configure tag settings. And what I'm looking for here is to see if GA4 has identified any issues with the account. And there almost is always some issues in here, but oftentimes they're very minor. So we can see here there's 3 pages that are untagged. Well, these are Calendly, so this sits outside of my domain, so I'm not worried about those. And then this one here is a PDF. So you could actually ignore these, and that'll fix up all of your errors. And I believe, yeah, this updates in real time. So now I've got no issues with the site. There can be a myriad of different things, but that's the most common is that tags are missing from certain pages, and you just want to make sure that nothing there looks too out of whack. Okay, so we're going to go back into myself a lot of the way, go into admin. So next one is data collection, and this is essentially where you activate remarketing lists or audiences. And for most advertisers, you just want to turn everything on. And don't forget to click on the acknowledgement. If you don't do that, data will not sync with Google Ads. But basically, just turn all this on. This is going to be useful for most advertisers because you can use GA4 audiences with your Google Ads campaigns. And GA4 has a lot more functionality in terms of segmenting users by different characteristics and actions. The only case where, I mean, you could basically ignore this would be if you are in healthcare or medical. There's a few other niche industries as well, but because Google doesn't allow remarketing, then this is kind of a useless feature at that point. All right, the next one is data retention. And by default, Google will set the event data retention to 2 months. We always make it 14. More is better. Just means if you do any reporting on events, that once you go back more than 2 months, you're not going to have that data anymore. So we just extend that to the max. Consent I'm not going to deal with here because it's very unique for each advertiser. But it is something you should obviously look at. The next thing would be the Google Ads linking. So if you are using Google Ads, which in most cases you would be with our agency, you're just going to click through and make sure you connect that. Sometimes there'll be multiple accounts. You could even have like multiple GA4 accounts connected to one Google Ads account, or the other way around. So you do want to make sure that those are properly connected. The other thing in here is if you are doing e-commerce, you want to link your Merchant Center account. What that does is it'll actually bring the free listing sales and clicks and data into GA4. If you don't connect them, you won't get that access. So it is just nice to have that, that additional data. And the other one I'd recommend in here is Search Console, which will bring some more organic like impressions details into your reporting, so that you don't have to always go to Search Console to check those types of things. So that's it for product links. I mean, you may have other things you want to link in here, obviously. So if you do, then go ahead and do that, or make sure that they're already linked. The next thing is events, and so this is you will have a standard event at a minimum of purchase, which is a default that Google adds to every account. You cannot edit or modify this in any way, but if you are selling online, usually the purchase will automatically track, unless you have like a custom site or something like that. So you're going to have additional events in here. These are key events. You also have recent events, so these are all different events like page view and scrolling and all kinds of stuff. But for most advertisers, what you want to make sure is if you're using GA4 events, key events for Google Ads tracking, then obviously you want to make sure these are all set up correctly and synced into Google Ads. I'm not going to show that here, but that's obviously mandatory. If you're using Google Ads tracking primarily um, for that and you're not using GA4, you still want to make sure that your conversions line up so that your key events here kind of reflect what you're doing in Google Ads so that you can do a comparison and so that if you have other channels that you're kind of comparing apples to apples. So it's no good to have like 3 lead forms on your website and Google Ads is tracking all of those and analytics is only tracking one, and then you try to compare you're looking at Google Analytics and you're trying to compare, well, Google Ads to Microsoft Ads or something like that, and things just don't add up, right? Um, and then in terms of adding additional key events here, Google has just kind of overhauled this interface for better or worse. And there's some, it's better in some ways, it's worse in others, but I think it's a little more intuitive now. Um, Anyways, again, I'm not going to show you how to create events because that's kind of a very specific thing and it gets very complicated very quickly. But suffice to say, you want to make sure that all of your events in here, your key events are tracking correctly, um, that they're configured correctly. All right. I think that's pretty much everything in here. And again, this is just a basic review evaluation. Um, there's obviously many more settings you can go in here in depth and make changes, but this covers the basics if you're going to be doing Google Ads to make sure that these things are in place. So that's it for me today. I hope you found this video useful, and I will see you next time.